Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on getting a handle, getting an understanding of someone who might be toxic or narcissistic in your life, particularly when it's a relationship with someone who, you feel that they're a little bit off or demanding and they fly off the handle and they're difficult to get along with. Maybe in the beginning things were different, but now things are really getting very craggy. And one of the traits we want to focus in on right now, so you can really get a firm understanding, is a narcissist's need for constant admiration. They expect this. So they kind of lay out a grandiose scheme. Also, the trait of grandiosity or an unrealistic expectation of what and where they're going. And it sort of elevates them, or it feels that it lofts them above others. And they have sort of a coldness and a lack of consideration. And so someone, how do you acknowledge this as a red flag? Someone who has a constant need for admiration. In other words, you're sort of in the dark and they're in the light. They've got a spotlight that is 10 to 20 feet in circumference, and you're supposed to be on the sidelines, in the stands, not having the same terrain to play on, so to speak. You might feel that there is not a level playing field, that they sort of take ownership of everything. If you're in business, they take ownership of the business. If you're in the home, they take, ownership of all the square footage of the home. And it's kind of, everything is theirs and you're just sort of there. In other words, you don't feel like at home in your own home. You don't feel that you can focus on work in your own workplace. A narcissist has a constant need for admiration. So even if you're interacting with them, even if it seems positive, even if it seems you're having a talk or a discussion, and this should be a relationship, there's sort of a cold and clenching aspect to it. So in other words, they try to be just sort of this untouchable, if you will. There was a movie back in the day, which was really great, untouchable. In other words, I think it was based on the mafia. But you can check out that movie if you're looking for it was just kind of a throwback movie. It was filmed in Chicago. Great acting, great story. It's just the idea that they're above, others, and that no one can touch them. They are sort of beyond you. And so as I was talking about before, that everybody else is kind of like on the stoop or on the outside, and they're always in the door frame. This is my world. This is my house. This is my business. I'm the conqueror here, and everyone else has to kind of go through me. So there's an energetic block that you will feel with them. So even though it might seem that you relate, when you're talking about someone who has a constant need for admiration, it's literally all about them. And to the degree in the conversation, you can only know and see their true colors after you've had some engagement with them. And you find that, for some reason, you just don't feel that things are fair. Things aren't right. There's something awry. You can't put a finger on it, but you just sort of know. There's something in the way that they exude or force. There's a sort of a narcissistic force or an ego that you can literally feel if you are empathetic or have empathy. You can feel the energy of others. So this is a normal, natural human, skill. And, you have to be really aware that, that you are exercising this even with use of devices and things of this nature, but to understand that you possess empathy. So if you are having communication difficulties, relationship difficulties, you feel that there's, a 20-foot high steel wall that you're just sort of keep knocking on, and it ain't going to bend. They are very rigid. They are planted. There ain't no, it's like they're anticipating problems, and then even before there's a problem, and then they sort of create this problem or this barrier and blockade around them, if this makes any sense energetically. So it becomes difficult to communicate, to feel heard, and not to come out feeling weak or meek or that you're inferior, inadequate in some way. It is because a narcissist in all interactions, not just someone who is in a band or, is a stellar employee who wants employee of the month and wants recognition. Sure, in your employment, if there's perks and benefits, you feel taken care of, you feel respected. But, we're talking about when someone has a constant need for admiration, that they sort of deserve better than. And it creates an energetic barrier, is what I'm alluding to, and helping you to recognize and cope with this. And to realize that it's not an inadequacy, you're picking up on something. Nowadays, it's really important to, that people sort of get lost in their devices and they can dissociate. It's important for you to check in on your own energetic alignment. Check in with your own gut. Not only with the device and everything, but with the narcissist, to catch it, you have to realize that there's something sort of superficial that you will feel, that they're playing and it's all fake, but yet it's real. So it's the combination of what is real, what is genuine, and we're talking about authentic feelings. Someone where you can trust them, you can have a conversation and you're on the same page, and not to feel that there's something that is hidden, secretive, wrapped up in a cylinder somewhere, that they're going to come out and do whatever, sort of that, inadequacy, and just sort of the devalue and discard. And people get confused but we had all this, we had an understanding, we had a connection, we knew we had some agreement of terms when you develop the relationship, and they just kind of act like it's null and void. This is that grandiosity. They want recognition. Even if it means taking away something from you, they want recognition. It's not just, once again, the employee of the month or the stellar employee who wins the Mercedes and the Bahama trip and the excursion to Switzerland, or, some of those things, where you get, people who work hard and have a sense of accomplishment, and they're like, they deserve recognition. They've had their head down. They've put their nose to the grinder. They've developed themselves. They're seasoned. This is different. This is different. These people can be kind of all full of themselves. So when they're all full of themselves, you will feel empty. You will feel that you are an empty glass, an empty vessel, that you aren't represented and your values aren't sort of digested by them. We're talking on an energetic level, so the quantum field, where a lot of the infinite intelligence is. When you get to that level of consciousness, some people say it's a very high vibration. You are acting, with persistence. You are acting with, just sort of perseverance. You are not a quitter when you're in the quantum field. And so people think that, they're of, maybe it's just that they're higher rank or something of that nature, but it's literally sort of a all about me mentality, and you can only get a peek or to bask in it or something of that nature. So it's all about them. It's not about, hearing you, responding to you, giving you recognition. And you'll find that when their recognition and need for admiration is challenged, well, here they go, cheating, tearing up your contract, missing your phone calls, egging your house, TPing your car, whatever it is that they sort of, you find out that they're on a date with somebody, and then your heart is about to leap out of your chest. You can't sleep, you can't eat, you're in that anxiety, fight or flight. It's the narcissist. They need to be admired. And so a lot of people feel that it will get, that they will get tired of this or question that, themselves. They will feel that there's something that they are inadequate. So they'll be, they'll basically be believing that projection of the negative energy that you don't have anything to show for yourself. You are, you know, you're boring, whatever, complaints you're typically, and I've got a notebook here, with some ideas and concepts that I've developed. And it can be frustrating because they're not going to give in return. It's an imbalance. They're not going to give in return that admiration and validation for yourself. And in fact, when people then start to succeed, oftentimes you'll find this is when they disappear. This is when they go missing. This is when they give the narcissistic cold rage. And, and a lot of people feel that they have done something to deserve this, that there's, that they spoke up, they were out of line. There's all this self-recrimination. And then they quit listening to themselves and they become disconnected from their gut, and they find that they're way off course, way off track. And it can be life-changing and life-shattering. So this situation can be corrected. You have to realize when you're caught up in their game, caught up in their sort of, ego that needs this, and then maybe it's good today, maybe they're not good today. There's an inconsistency. And then usually people then concerned that the narcissist is going to go into a rage. So they better just keep it, locked down. And then how do you then, the issue then is, because of this, you are not really going to regain your ground with them, because it's always going to be their ground. This is just what they see. This is what they fight for. And their body language will communicate, this in very subtle or very dramatic and obvious ways, where it makes you feel just sort of you're in their world and you're, just sort of in this dreamland, and you don't really have your feet on the ground. You can't find your footing. You second guess yourself. You make stupid mistakes, accident prone. You're just, you can't carry the conversation. You feel, timid, and so it can be a narcissistic intimidation, this need for recognition. So realize that they have an insatiable need for this. Insatiable meaning not ever quenched or satisfied. Do you find that these people are never satisfied? They're like the kid that has too much candy. You're like, the kid with all the candy and they weren't sharing, and, whatever. And they don't contribute to you. They don't listen. They don't give, they're not on the same level. And so once again, a lot of people then feel that, they will help elevate their life. They get a lot of resistance and pushback. And just allow that to be. Allow them to do their situation. Allow them to do their game. But realize when you get caught up in the admiration game, you're caught up in their cycle. You're caught up in feeding their ego. And you're going to find that you feel depleted. Just check that out. You can understand that if you feel sort of disordered or disconnected or in sort of a zombie zone, not able to be decisive, not knowing what your passion is, but just trying to promulgate theirs. It's like an incompatible energy. I've used this analogy before, oil and water, and I want you to understand it just as energy. And realize that it's kind of like the oil and water. If you've ever had, you're boiling spaghetti and you've got the water, and then this, you pour in the oil will, stay in its little thing. That's kind of how people feel, that they are dissociated from the rest of the big picture, or they feel that they are unrecognized or isolated. This is their energy. It's something that, I think it's important to understand the cause that creates this effect, so you can understand what you're dealing with and then just back it off. And then as I'm trying to hold space for equanimity and compassion, that, that this person, even though they present like this, they might suffer a lot, but don't, and as I say that, I know a lot of viewers are going to start having empathy and, oh, I should feel sorry for them that they have to work this hard. Don't fall for that. That's the empathy. You're in the empathy zone. You're too deep in in feeling for others. You're too deep in trying to take care of others and have a passion for that. If you have a passion for that, that is all well and good. You really have to keep it in check though, and do not allow your caregiving, the word that I'm looking for is, your need to be a caregiver, to love, to comfort, to make them happy, to shower them, or things of that nature. It's creating a double bind. It's creating a problem that you will then it'll deepen with time, because they're falling in love. With the supply. It's a supply relationship, and you don't need, doesn't have to be your best foot forward. Trying to use incorporate a lot of that in the relationship, although that might bring a lot of flow. Keep it in check, because pretty soon that will erupt in the narcissist sort of becoming more intense and have resistance, and not be able to be in clarity with you, and transparency of their feelings. They become more narcissistic, and they just want more of the supply, and then it'll appear as if maybe the relationship is going somewhere, but yet when they've had enough back rubs, when they've had enough dinners, when you've given them and showered them with all that you are, and your heart has been there for them, you got to kind of pull back and own your heart, and not just sort of and hold space there for yourself. And rather than just giving it out to them, be careful and value yourself. Give high, priceless value to your exchange with a narcissist, because they won't reflect it back. It won't be there for sort of the sustainable long run. This is just a quality that they possess. Don't feel defeated if it's been even a long period of time, and you've suffered, maybe you've suffered enough, and it's time to change it up. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony. I hope the videos and discussions do help. Please share, please subscribe, and join up with the new Peace and Harmony memberships. Have a beautiful day. Keep your questions and your comments coming.